Hello, I am Scott Leopold of Cooperative Strategies, and I'll be taking you through the rezoning process for the Vestavia Hills City Schools. This presentation is about 15 minutes long and is intended to provide background information on the process, as well as detail a series of potential options for your consideration. This presentation is identical to the presentation that will be given at the community forums on June 12th and 13th. At the end of this presentation, there will be a link to an online survey. Please feel free to pause this presentation at any time to get a better look at any of the maps or tables that you may see. This slide shows the overall process and timeline. The district is transitioning all elementary schools to a K through 5th grade configuration. Both East and West elementary schools are currently K-3 facilities that feed into Central for 4th and 5th grade. Both Cahaba Heights and Liberty Park are already K-5 facilities. The district finalized the acquisition of Gresham Elementary in early 2018 and will begin renovations later this summer. Gresham will open in the fall of 2019, and any boundary changes as a result of this process will not be implemented until that time. East, West, and Gresham will all be K-5 facilities, and again, this process will define the boundaries for those facilities. It should be noted that there are some minor changes in the options that impact Cahaba Heights as well. The process began in January of 2018 with the analysis of background data. Data included capacity, enrollment projections, and other demographic information. At this point, a series of preliminary boundary options were developed by consultants and district-level staff. In late January, a series of focus group meetings were held to provide feedback on the preliminary options. The focus groups were composed of teachers, parents, principals, and other district-level staff. Again, the purpose of these meetings was to collect feedback, which actually did result in changes to those preliminary options. The finalized options were presented to the school board on May 31st, and this presentation, along with all materials, are included on a website, which also includes an online survey, and they were posted immediately following the board work session. The community forums on June 12th and 13th are an opportunity for the community members to attend in person, view the presentation, and provide feedback on the survey. They can also ask any questions to staff and consultants about the options in the process. After the survey is closed on June 22nd, all feedback will be evaluated by consultants and district-level administration. The superintendent will make recommendations to the school board on July 10th. Again, any changes recommended would not go into effect until the fall of 2019-20. In any boundary change process, it is always a good idea to establish parameters or criteria prior to the development of options. This way, there's a framework in which to evaluate the options against each other. These criteria were developed by Cooperative Strategies and are based on national experience and best practices. District-level staff discussed and agreed on the following criteria. It should be noted that these are general guidelines, and it may not be possible or feasible for one option to be able to align with all of them simultaneously. These criteria are in no particular order. Utilization is simply the enrollment of a facility divided by the capacity of the facility and is represented by a percentage. This is intended to balance utilization to promote reasonable balance of enrollment among schools to avoid overutilization or underutilization of facilities. This criterion is intended to eliminate overcrowding and allow for future growth. Proximity is simply the student proximity to each facility. We want to keep distances traveled by students as short as possible and attempt to assign students to their nearest school to the best extent possible. Longevity is about how long a plan may last. We want to give students and families a stable educational foundation and minimize disruption over time. Neighborhood concept is simply that, just to keep neighborhoods together to the greatest extent possible. With any boundary planning process, Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, is utilized. The map below shows the current attendance areas, denoted in different shades of color, and we also use planning units. And these planning units are arbitrarily built using neighborhoods, major roads, and those types of things. Planning units can be seen in this map in the dark red color. We find that this is a more manageable way to create attendance boundaries, and the table on the left kind of shows some of the information that we'll use broken down by planning units. With this type of information, we can very quickly reassign planning units to different schools and see the impact on utilization, enrollment, and other factors. Whenever we start a boundary process, one of the questions that we inevitably get is, why can't every student just go to their closest school? And so what this map illustrates is exactly that scenario. So we use the GIS to generate boundaries based on the planning areas we defined for every student to go to their geographically closest school. And so if you look at west, which is in kind of the blue-green color in the western portion of the district, if every student went to their closest school, the enrollment in that school would be over 1,200 students, which is 142% of the capacity or utilization. And we'd have about 368 students more than we have capacity for. At the same time, looking at Gresham, which is going to be in the green color there, and again, this is just the closest school boundary. This isn't an option. Our utilization would only be 50% or 408 students. And so again, we think that this is just a good tool to help the public and people understand the dynamics of a growing school district and the position of the students and the shifting demographics. Now I'm going to review the options that we have for consideration. Please keep in mind that these are just options. There's no preferred option. The order of these doesn't matter. No decision has been made. We're purely here to collect feedback on these options so that we can take that feedback into account as recommendations are made to the board in July. Again, the final options that we're going to present here are based on feedback from the focus groups that we had on those preliminary options and a follow-up meeting with the superintendent. For these options that we're going to present, we developed enrollment projections, and we're only showing projected enrollment for the 1920 school year. And so we're looking at projected enrollment, not current enrollment. So we're trying to account for some growth and those types of things in each of these boundaries. We're only showing that 1 year because there are some inter-district transfers and those types of things that could have an impact on enrollment that we really can't account for in projections. And so just keep that in mind when you're looking at the data. Before we go into the actual options, I want to talk about the current boundaries. This way you can get an idea of how these maps work and what the symbols mean. This map simply shows the current attendance areas. West is denoted by the area that's shaded in the blue-green color. East is in the kind of tan or brown color. Cahaba Heights is in the purple color. And then Liberty Park is up in the upper right-hand corner. This map is zoomed into the areas that change. We don't have any changes to Liberty Park in any of the options, and so it's not really a focus of any of these slides. We also have planning units denoted on these slides, and these are the areas that are outlined in red lines, and they also have a label within each of them. And that label is the abbreviation of the school that is currently zoned. So all the W's are obviously west, all the E's are east, and all the CH's are Cahaba Heights. The numbers are just a corresponding reference number. It should also be noted that the district boundary is aligned with the city limits, and so you'll see some kind of holes or some detached islands kind of out there. You'll see an area that's to the south of the highway that's kind of some areas that are kind of out there on their own. And again, these are just areas that have been annexed into the city of Vestavia Hills, and so that's why they're on the boundary. We also do have some island boundaries within the district, and so you can see over where the label is for Montgomery Highway, there's E4, E3, E2, E5. These are all neighborhoods that happen to be zoned to east that are kind of in the heart of west. And it should be noted, if you remember back at our closest school map, if everybody went to their closest school, we'd have over 1,200 kids in west, and so somebody's going to have to come out west. And so these are just some areas that are large groups of kids that are going to be a distance from a school anyway where they can't walk, and so they're currently zoned to east. And it should just be noted that in most cases for our options, most of these areas are going to be zoned to either continue to be zoned to east or perhaps to Gresham. This is option one. The way we have these set up is that we're going to have a change area map, and then we'll have a map with the new boundaries in it. And so on this change area map, you can see all the area outlined in green is the area that's going to get zoned from either west, east, or Cahaba Heights into Gresham. We have a small area south of the highway that would actually move from west or from east up into Cahaba Heights. And then we have a large area on the north side of west that would move to east. And then we have some of those detached zones that are currently within west that go to east. We would take some of those and move them to Cahaba Heights. And here's the boundary map for option one. You can see the area that's shaded in green would be for Gresham. The area that's still in that blue-green topaz color is going to be west, and then east is in the brown color, and of course Cahaba Heights is going to be in the purple color. We have this table on the map, but it's easy to read on this slide. You can see our utilization for each school with the new boundaries, and this is projected utilization for the 1920 school year. East would be at 91.4%, West at 88.3%, Gresham at 87.9%, Cahaba Heights at 86.1%. Liberty Park is a little bit low at 78.7%, but that's because we have some anticipated growth in that area. Beery Middle School would be at 92%, 92.2%, and Liberty Park 60%. Again, we're leaving some growth area in those middle schools for capacity. These aren't going to change throughout the options, so I'm only going to mention them on this slide as far as the middle school capacity goes. Here's our change area map for option 2. Again, the area that's outlined in the green is going to be the boundary for Gresham. We have an area that's kind of close to the east and west line in this option that would move from west up into east. That's kind of the big difference that we have between option 1 and option 2. If we look at those island zones or those satellite areas within, currently within west that would go to east, those same 2 would go to, or those same 3 areas would go to Gresham. And again, we kind of have that cleanup on the southwest of the highway that would go from east up to Cahaba Heights. Here's our boundary map, and again, the area in the green is going to be the zone for Gresham. The blue-green or the topaz color, that's going to be the zone for west. The brown or tan area, that's going to be east, and Cahaba Heights in the purple. Here's our data table for option 2. East is going to be at 92.6, west at 88.0, Gresham 87.9, Cahaba Heights at 86.1, and Liberty Park at 78.7. Here's our change map for option 3. Again, the green outline is the boundary for the change area for Gresham. If we go over to those detached areas within west, we've got the same ones that we had previously in the other 2 options, plus we have an additional area that's right around the central site that would be zone 2 Gresham in this one. We also have a different area that would move from west to east. And then we have, again, those cleanup areas on the south side of the highway there that would go from east to Cahaba Heights. And then we have an area, the same area there, that would go from Cahaba Heights to Gresham. There's a boundary map for option 3. Again, the green shaded background color is going to be Gresham. The blue-green or topaz color is going to be west. The brown color is going to be east. And then Cahaba Heights is going to be in the purple. Here's our data table for option 3. East is going to be at 89.5%, west at 91%, Gresham at 90.1%, Cahaba Heights at 86.1%, and Liberty Park at 78.7%. So this slide shows the current boundaries on the top left, and then we show options 1, 2, and 3 kind of all together on the same slide. This is one of those slides that you may want to pause to kind of look at these in more detail. Again, you can flip back to the previous slides or rewind this presentation to look at the other maps in more detail, but this just kind of gives you a high-level comparison of the current boundaries and then all 3 options on one slide. So we did the same thing with the data tables on this one. Again, you can see the current enrollment and utilization on the top left, and then you can see what it would look like in each of the 3 options. Again, as far as utilization goes, looking at the 3 of these, they're all very close. Some of them are more balanced than others, but you can see they're all well within the parameters we're looking for as far as balance. So again, you may want to pause this slide or feel free to go back and look at the other slides in more detail. That concludes the options presentation. Now just to talk about some next steps. An online survey is available at the following link, and you don't have to type it in from here. We'll have the link right on the website below this video. The survey will be open beginning May 31st through June 22nd. And again, you can utilize the project website, again, using this link to view any supporting data that we have related to the process. And just for reference, our community forums, we have 2 different opportunities. The first one is going to be on June 12th at 5 p.m. at Vestavia Hills Elementary East. And then we'll have one at 9 a.m. on the 13th. at the same location. And just a reminder, the final school board presentation with the superintendent recommendation will be on July 10th. And again, I just want to reiterate that this process is about collecting your feedback, and we want you to participate on that survey so that we can evaluate all of that as we develop recommendations for the board. Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to view this presentation.